also wanted to recognize another local hero, which is Arnie Goldstein from Postal Solutions. Please go there for your copy and he donated the cost of the flyers to get you all here, and some of the banners and things like that. Also, is there somebody who speaks Spanish who would be able to kind of convey some of the ideas today to Univision, who is running late? I just got a message and they're going to be here in about 20 minutes, and they want to do an interview in Spanish. Is there somebody who would like to volunteer to do that? Is Sandra still here? Yes. Okay. Fantastic. So stick around, please. And the other thing is, I wanted to encourage you all, if you're inspired by all of this, to come Monday night, this coming Monday night, at 6 o'clock. We start on time, as you saw we did today. We always start at 6. At Sizzler, come a little early, get a little food, and we'll plan out this campaign and other things that you might like to get involved in. I believe that do what you like to do. So that's what we try to create, jobs that people enjoy and comfortable with, and etc. And even people who like to do things that make them uncomfortable. We'll provide you with that as well. You know, when I passed out leaflets at a union meeting, it was kind of scary, but I loved it. Before we throw it open, I think I wanted to encourage you to look at the exhibits over there. This represents all the work that people have done over the years, and it has all the letters of support that Jim mentioned. So now I think I'm going to call on Cliff, and he's going to moderate a discussion amongst people. If you have ideas, suggestions, questions, comments, I think we're going to start off with some students and also Coalition for Clean Air. Are you still here?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll call on you second.
Okay.
Thank you. We'd like to encourage community participation in this. If you've got thoughts and ideas, we'd like to hear them in the interest of conservation of time and everybody else's time.
This is the advantage of being short.
Oh, yeah. Did it out there right there. We'd like to limit the comments to about a minute, if you would, please. In the very first person I'd like to call on is a student from West High School who produced a video for us as a project. Carlo, are you here? You're going to want to come up and... Would you give us a little introduction before we start the video as to the purpose and how you went about doing this project? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Carlo Aguila, and I'm a senior at West High School. Thanks to Mr. Ettinger, I was given the opportunity to present a video I made for a project in my government class. For the assignment, we were tasked with partaking in some sort of civic action in our community. And this became sort of an excuse for me to look further into the use of MHF at the Torrance Refinery, an issue I've been especially worried about since the 2015 explosion. Most of the facts that I present in the video I'm sure you all know inside and out, but this was originally intended for high schoolers who may not have been previously aware of the problem. That being said, I hope you all enjoy.
My name is Daniel Horowitz.
I will fix that.
Perhaps one of the most controversial issues in the state of Torrance is the use of modified hydrofluoric acid at the Torrance Refining Company. Since its introduction in the 1980s, hydrofluoric acid has come under fire for posing a serious health hazard to the community. When released, the acid forms a ground-hugging cloud that covers a 2-mile radius. It only takes contact with the chemical for people to develop serious burns on the skin and lungs, eventually leading to permanent damage or, in most cases, death. Modified hydrofluoric acid, or MHF, was introduced in the 1990s as a supposedly safer alternative. The refining industry claims that MHF is less potent than its unaltered counterpart, but in reality, MHF is 99% hydrofluoric acid and has not yet been proven to be safe. The Torrance Refining Company claims that a switch from MHF to a safer technology would cost hundreds of millions of dollars. But does this excuse hold up when you consider the potential disaster that could occur if the switch is not made? To show my interest in this issue, I decided to write a letter to Mayor Patrick J. Fury. In the letter, I urged him to vote against law supporting MHF, reminding him of the consequences that could soon become a reality. I introduced various articles from newspapers and sources such as the LA Times to back up my claims. I took a quick stop at the United States Post Office, and within a few minutes, the letter was on its way to the mayor. I was especially concerned because I currently live within the 2-mile radius. I then reached out to the Torrance Refinery Action Alliance, or TRAA, asking to meet with one of their members on the science board. After a series of emails, I was referred to Dr. James Enninger, a retired senior engineer at TRW who got his doctorate at Stanford. We met for an interview at the Katie Geiser Torrance Public Library, and it didn't take long for me to notice that his interest in the campaign to fight was genuine. He declined to be taped on video, so instead I was able to record our conversation. So, in your view, is the Torrance City Council taking the TRAA's protest into account?
They are taking a very neutral approach, and I don't think they really have stepped up to the challenge of protecting the citizens of Torrance. And they're a little bit conflicted because they get a lot of revenue from the refinery. And so they have not, I don't think, taken a strong, there are members of the city council, Tim Goodrich, who is a strong advocate for getting rid of hydrogen fluoride from the refineries, but others, including Mayor Fury, are not taking a strong position to protect the citizens.
To follow up on my talk with Dr. Enninger, I decided to post my afterthoughts online through a Twitter account titled Fight MHF in Torrance. I decided to base it off the TRAA's account, which proved to be a useful campaigning tool that could provide updates, news articles, and opinions to its followers. With the account, I was able to tweet some of my biggest reasons for why MHF should be permanently banned in our community. While my own individual actions have done little to limit the use of MHF in the refinery, I have managed to make myself heard to the Torrance Refinery Action Alliance and to the community as a whole. Dr. Enninger commented that he was glad to see that students my age were aware of this issue, and he hoped that perhaps in the future I could become a TRAA member, where I would be able to have more of an impact with the help of others. With my Twitter account, I was inspired to reach out to Torrance residents on social media platforms. I began to think of new ways to spread the message as well as express the urgency of the issue. I wanted to portray MHF for what it really was, a ticking time bomb that had the potential to devastate Torrance. This is perhaps what I'm most proud of. With this project, I've been able to introduce public awareness about this potentially deadly outcome, not just to adults, but to my peers. It's important that our generation be part of any social movement. This one particularly matters because it's in our own backyard. If we allow ourselves to think that other people are carrying this torch and monitoring everything that's taking or not taking place, then we're much more likely to ignore all the signs of growing danger. One thing that social scientists tell us is that the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. If you look at the past actions of the Torrance Refinery, they have not been transparent to the governing bodies in Sacramento, and in the 2015 explosion, it is yet unclear where they tried to hide damaging evidence. By remaining silent, we enable the actions of a company who may be risking our lives for corporate profit. It's important to note that no one is asking that they dissolve or move elsewhere, as this would take a major toll on South Bay citizens who work there as well as the company itself. What's important is where we draw the line. Do Torrance citizens decide where this line should be, or do we allow a company to decide for all of us?
MHF is just one of many safety features that protect refinery employees and
Well done, Carlos. Fantastic presentation. I understand that Chris from the Coalition for Clean Air would like to make a presentation at this time.
Before I begin, just to get another round of applause for our students. It reminds me when I was in high school back in the early 2000s, we thought we were just cool doing PowerPoints. Now you have video presentations, all that stuff. My name is Chris Chavez. I'm the Deputy Policy Director for Coalition for Clean Air. We are a nonprofit environmental advocacy organization in downtown Los Angeles. We've been around since 1971. And our mission is to protect public health, improve air quality, and prevent climate change. Well, minimize. We know the climate change is here. I just want to say again, thank you, TRAA, for your involvement, your continued leadership in this issue. And really, it's going to take the work and the activism of our communities to really make sure that our communities are safe. I live over in Long Beach and over in the area, and I'm in the Valero kill zone, for lack of a better term. But ultimately, certainly we want to make sure that we're continuing to work on this issue. I was there at the AQMD meeting in which they voted to accept the refinery proffer. And it's astounding that a refinery or the refineries can interrupt a 3-year rulemaking process with 72 hours notice. It was really unfortunate, and hearing some of the comments that were made by refinery employees, by refinery representatives at that meeting, really showed how much respect they actually have for some of our communities. I understand a lot of the refinery people, our employees, live in these communities as well, and they would be impacted. So it's really important to continue speaking out on this issue, to continue being engaged, because ultimately, as they say in politics, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And we really want to make sure that the Torrance community, the Long Beach community, and anybody impacted by these refineries have their voice at the table. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for this press conference today. And we're going to continue working with you on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. We also have Fatima. I probably didn't pronounce that right. She's a candidate for the 66th Assembly District. We'd like to see a few words, please.
Short people problems, right? Okay. Thank you. This was a really inspiring meeting. So my name is Fatima Zubair. I'm a candidate for the 64th Assembly District, and I care a lot about this because the reason I'm running is predominantly because of the environmental injustice and the lack of representation in our district to really fight the refineries, right? So I'll talk just for a minute about the legislative failures of the state assembly, right? So Wilmington is actually in my district, and it's the 3rd largest oil field, and it does use a refinery that uses MHF. And it's really sad. Wilmington is predominantly, community of color. My district is predominantly a community of color, and these types of communities are impacted the most historically. So what you're doing is amazing because you are also, uplifting a lot of the injustices that are happening in my district. So thank you for that. Let's be honest here. From a legislative perspective, this is happening because it's not because of you guys not being loud. You guys are being loud. We have students being loud. We have scientists being loud. We have community residents being loud. It's happening because of the power of the oil industries, right? It's also happening, I'm going to call this out, because the representative right now, and a lot of representatives, so this is the truth, some of them call themselves progressive, right? Take loads of money from these refineries, right? So even if they enact change, they're not going to go all the way, right? And so let's be honest, this is not about jobs, this is not going to take away jobs, this is just about a just transition to something that is safer, right? Eventually we need to get to renewable energy. That's not going to happen when you have representatives that are taking oil money. And so that's why I'm running, because I want to make sure your voices are heard. I want to make sure when I have a bill at my table, that you are at the table as well. When I have a vote to make, that I'm not thinking about the refineries, I'm thinking about the people, including the workers of those refineries, right? And so I'm so proud of you guys doing what you're doing, and I promise that I'd be that moral voice. I'm sorry I have to go. I do have another event, but I'll leave my information in the back and my emails there if you want to get in touch. Thank you.
I'd like to take just a minute, if I could, to highlight a comment that Carlo brought up in his presentation. Many people have accused TRAA of wanting to shut the refinery down, wanting to close the refinery, wanting to get rid of the refinery. This is not true. We do not view the refinery as our enemy. We view hydrogen fluoride as our enemy. We do not advocate and never have advocated closing the refinery. Just wanted to make that a little bit clear. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like a minute behind the microphone? It's not golden, but it's a microphone.
Or any other comments or questions, or floor is open.
Comments or
I'd like to,
questions, or both?
I'd like to make a couple of comments, please.
And limit it to 60 seconds. everybody.
60 seconds.
60
Okay.
seconds.
That was a timer, that a fine.
Good morning. My name is Bill Lavoie, and I am the vice chair of the PV South Bay group of the Sierra Club. And I want to let you know that we support all the action that's being done by TRAA. And if you go online and you look at our newsletter, we just about every time we have a new newsletter, there is an article about what TRAA is doing to protect the community. My second comment is, how many people here are Torrance residents? Okay, we have an election coming up, don't we? Let's take a look at the candidates that are running, and let's take a look at their position on modified hydrofluoric acid. And if they are not standing behind us, why are we voting for them? Let's get some new people in there that are willing to stand up to the refinery and protect the citizens that they are supposed to be protecting, and not kowtowing to the refinery. Yeah, they get a lot of tax money. They get a lot of tax money from the refinery. Which is more important, our lives or the tax money? That's what my comments for.
Vote for Andrew Block.
Vote for Andrew Block.
Yeah. Okay, well, I really can't tell you who to vote for. But
Can you tell us the people that are up for re-election now that support TRAA?
I cannot, because now you know Torrance is shifting over to districts.
Right.
So I'm in the Hollywood Riviera section. So our representative, I believe, is Tim Goodrich, and he is not up for election this time, but he does support.
Jeff Rizzo and Mike Griffiths are up for re-election.
Okay.
And they have not supported removing
And they have
hydrofluoride.
not?
No, they have supported refineries keeping.
Rizzo, and he doesn't support
The public
doing
statement.
So-
public safety either, so that's just.
If you really want to get the politicians to pay attention, vote.
One other little item I'd like to make clear that maybe not widely known. Our group started with the refinery explosion of the Torrance Refinery, hence our name, the Torrance Refinery Action Alliance. However, there is another refinery in Southern California whose death zone from MHF overlaps ours, and that's the refinery in Wilmington. We also support the Wilmington people and the Wilmington refinery down there. Is there anyone else who would like a minute in a bully pulpit? Yeah, sure, come on up.
I can just speak from here.
Can you shout loud? Okay, go for it.
I have a loud voice. My name is Angelica Sheriff. I'm running for the County Central Committee. You have to be a Democrat to vote for me, but I'm a friend of TRA. My organization, Indivisible, has been meeting with representatives and talking about and trying to move the representatives on this issue. If I'm on the County Central Committee, which is the Los Angeles County Democratic Party, is run by a committee, I'll definitely be a friend of TRA.
Say your name.
My name is Angelica Sheriff. I am on the ballot.
Which AD?
Assembly District 66.
And Ray.
I'm running too.
So Ray Waters.
Yes. Also,
my daughter Gwyneth. My name is Catherine Lays. I'm one of the founders at Flare. And I just want to say, as always, we support TRAA, and they're doing amazing work, so strategic, and I love that, you know, they have so many plans, and we are out here to support them. I also just want to let you guys know that Flare, we've been busy getting air monitors. So if you haven't already, go to torranceair.org, and we do monitor for hydrogen fluoride. So you can look at the readings at 3 locations in Torrance. Those went live in between November and December. So it does monitor hydrogen fluoride, so that's good. And there's also a meeting with AQMD on February 19th to talk about high benzene levels in Torrance. But overall, I just want to say thank you, TRAA, and we're here, and good work.
Thanks.
Claire, before you disappear, what does FLAIR stand for? I believe it's an acronym.
That's FLAIR.
What is FLAIR?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Families Lobbying Against Refinery Exposures.
Families Lobbying Against Refinery Exposure.
Right.
Excellent. Thank you very
We know
much.
that TRAA does amazing on hydrofluoric acid, so we just focus on more the daily chronic exposures.
Very good. Is there anyone else while we're here? Sure, come on up.
Try to keep this to half a minute. I'm George Harpole. I'm on the Science Advisory Committee. And you notice that Daniel Horowitz said HF instead of MHF. And that's really appropriate because it's not modified. A little bit of solvent, and it's not like modified starch may mean a different compound, a different chemical. This is not. And I think that's a term that the refinery came up with to make you think that it's something different. I think we should really be using the term HF because that's what it is.
Another member of our science panel.
Yes, gentleman in the back. Lady in the back, I'm sorry, I can't, you're sitting down too low. I'm sorry.
I just have one question.
Yes.
We have not heard one thing about which everybody agrees we have to accommodate in the near future. It's not a question of when, I mean, if, but when. How about the big earthquake we're expecting? How does that fit into all these calculations?
I'm sorry, my thing was going off. I didn't get it. Somebody like to answer that?
Earthquakes fit into all these calculations.
Well, I think an earthquake, if you ask the refineries, they'll tell you that their refinery is subject to more stringent earthquake calculations than the average building. However, if you keep looking a little bit deeper, you begin to worry that if we have an earthquake serious enough to cause a major release of HF, what about their mitigation measures? Are they going to be affected by the same earthquake, and how effective will they be at that time? It's a serious question.
And I wanted to add, in that video, you saw Philip Fine from AQMD citing natural disasters and intentional acts as additional to accidents. So the 3 things that could impact it are accidents, natural disasters like an earthquake, and we did have during this time found we have found new fault lines, and we've had experts, and at the AQMD, an expert talked about the threat of earthquake damage and or effect. And of course, if there was an earthquake and a pipe was ripped and the cloud gets out, what are we told, after the rumbling stops in an earthquake, get out of the building so it doesn't fall on you? And if we see our students from Kashmir High, Kashmir Middle School, which are only a few hundred feet or 1,000 feet or something like that, bam, they come out of the classroom into the yard and into a hydrofluoric acid cloud. So it's contradictory instructions, shelter in place versus get out. So earthquake is a very major tripwire.
Okay, gentlemen, lady back here, sure, go ahead.
Hi there. My name is Lauren. I've lived in Torrance since ever since I can remember. I took the tour of the refinery when they have it for the residents. And I did ask the question about church later, and they brush you off. They just say, no, we're safe, we're safe. But if you take that tour, that refinery is so scary because everything looks so old. And they could not answer what plans they had because I asked them, what do you have for in case of something? They couldn't answer, which is very scary. It's more concerning after taking the tour. And it should feel like you're in a Silkwood movie because
I took the same tour, and I was scared too.
Taking that tour, it was even scarier.
And the point I made in the thing about what the EPA, about the storage areas that are not mitigated at all, these are 150,000 pound tanks or more at Valero, and those tanks don't have any water cannons around it, don't have any evacuation and that kind of thing. In the case of an earthquake, could impact them.
Yeah, and I think in the earthquakes, the refineries always said they meet the code that they're required to, which I believe plans for something like an earthquake in the 5 to 6 and something. So if it's anything, the big one, they'll say, well, we met code. Everything's according to the plan, even though we're all dead.
So did Fukushima, yeah. They met the code.
Are there any other comments? Seeing none, we thank, way in the back. Sure, go ahead.
This is Arnie.
That's Arnie.
Anybody that wants brochures to pass out that you don't get here, you can always come to Postal Solutions. We'll have it all times. You can take
Where are you located?
Give us the address of Postal Solutions.
Postal Solutions, 6 Sardinas on Torrance Boulevard.
4733 Torrance Boulevard.
4733 Torrance Boulevard. And they have shipping, copying, the whole works.
Thank you, Ernie. One more comment here? Sure, go ahead.
The gentleman who said he's also running, or Angelica is running.
Ray Waters.
Get his name as well.
Ray Waters.
Ray Waters. Ray Waters.
Hey, Ray.
And come Monday night and we'll get you involved and you can really make a difference.
We thank you very much for coming. Keep up the good work, and we'll see you later. Thank you.